Resource Committee. For this meeting, we'll have to use the microphone because it is being recorded and all that. Okay? All right, so I'm going to call our meeting to order at 4:02 p.m. on May 3rd. Thank you all for being here. I already told us about being mindful about the microphone. So I'm Rebecca Willey. I'm the Educational Services Coordinator over at the district office. And we're going to follow this agenda that you've got in front of you here tonight. And our next agenda item, so our call to order was agenda item 1.1. Sorry, I was supposed to call that one. Our next agenda item is 1.2, purpose and outcomes. And our purpose is to review the quality of supplemental materials and ensure that resources are used for instruction that they would meet the district criteria. So our outcomes today will be to review the criteria. We're going to score the supplemental resources, which you guys already did through the survey link, and then determine sources to recommend for a 60-day review. So just for information, supplementary instructional resource is defined as an instructional resource intended as a supplement to the primary instructional resources to enrich and enhance the learning. I don't think you have all of this in your stuff. This is just mine. Teachers may choose from among a district-approved list to take into consideration student interest, learning styles, abilities, and maturity level to best meet the needs of students or student groups. Supplementary instructional resources may also serve to support gaps in instructional alignment of primary instructional resources. So agenda item 1.3, we're going to review the criteria for scoring. So our committee will discuss the criteria used to score all supplemental materials. The scoring rubric was the same for all recommended supplemental resources. I will read each criteria quickly and let me know if you have any questions or concerns. So we looked at if the material was aligned to Arizona High Academic Learning Standards. Number 2 was research shows that the program or materials are evidence-based. Number 3, it's appropriate for the subject area and the age, emotional development, ability level, learning styles, and social development of students. Number 4 was it fills gaps in our curriculum and or supports differentiation of learning for students so teachers can enrich or extend, remediate, or intervene. Number 5 was uses current relevant technology that further engages interactive learning and can be used in the classroom and beyond. And then there was a place for comments and for the committee to consider. So our first product we'll look at is agenda item 1.4, and that is Reading Horizons Elevate. So up in front of you here, you see the results of our survey, and you'll notice that the blue would indicate does not meet expectations, the orange is meets expectations, and the yellow is exceeds expectations. So this is question number 1 for, let me make sure I'm on Elevate, I am. 100% says it meets expectations for Arizona standards. Number 2.
I can take that.
Oh, perfect. Thank you. Okay, that's helpful. Okay, so then number 2 shows that the research shows that the program is evidence-based. And so everybody either marked it meets expectation or exceeds expectations. I'll just go through the results and then we can discuss it. And then number 3 is that it's appropriate for the subject area and the age, emotional development of students, and it's either meets or exceeds there. And then it fills gaps in our curriculum or supports differentiation of learning, and we had meets or exceeds there. Uses current relevant technology that engages interactive learning and can be used in the classroom and beyond, and everybody is meets or exceeds. And then the comments say that it aligns with the K-3 explicit phonics. Students will be familiar with the marking system, language, and process of RH, great alignment. It's age and grade appropriate, reading library, and it has a Lexile measurement. This should be a great resource to assist all readers, but especially those who have fell behind due to COVID. The studies I reviewed showed promising gains in Lexile scores as a result of this resource, and this could be a useful supplement tool for our teachers. And it's a continuation of the Reading Horizon program for our K-3. Oh, is this a continuation for our K-3 students' use? If so, I think it's great that those students would be familiar with the program and there looks like there's some instructional support. So at this time now, I will open it up for any other further discussion, or if you had any questions. I am not an expert in it, although I do have knowledge of this program.
I just wanted to elaborate. It is the upper grade version that aligns to Reading Horizons that K-3 does utilize in the classroom.
Okay. Any questions about it? No? Comments about it?
I work in a resource, and I think it would be a great advantage for our kids. We do not have anything that is grade, age and grade appropriate with the library. So I'm really excited for this.
Okay. Okay.
TechSmart?
Yep, we're going to go to the next one. Okay, so now we're going to look at 1.5 agenda item 1.5 to look at Tech Smart coding. Again, we can see these results, 100% meets the academic standards. Research, so this one has some does not meet expectations. Research shows that the program or materials are evidence-based. With any ELA program, there is strict guidelines for ESSA approved materials that have quality ratings, and technology curriculum does not have that same alignment, so it doesn't surprise me here that we have some that show that it does not meet expectations. It's appropriate for the subject area, so we had 83% saying that it does meet expectations, one that says it does not. Fills the gap in our curriculum and or supports differentiation of learning, so so teachers can extend and enrich or remediate or intervene. And this one was a little bit more spread with 16% showing that it does not meet expectations to fill the gaps, but all the rest said it does. And uses current relevant technology. We've got 100% that's either meet or exceeds. And then comments, my CPU science class is heavily based on TechSmart. The platform does not address many of the standards, however, it does a good job meeting or exceeding the standards it does touch on. For example, 7.AP.V.1, compare and contrast variables that represent different data types and perform operations on their values. Okay, is that a technology standard? Yes.
It's the computer science. It's one of the computer science standards.
Okay. I worry that I don't have enough familiarity with the computer science standards to really make a fair judgment. I'm curious what grades this would start. Obviously, the Skylark lessons are geared towards younger grades. If we teach this to higher grades, can we increase the rigor? I marked that it met standards, but I have reservations marking this. I don't feel that I could really assess that based on the information I had. So that's the feedback here. I'll open it up for any kind of discussion or input.
So I was the one who said, I don't like that, that said that I didn't have enough familiarity. I have no idea about computer science standards. I actually started kind of freaking out because I was like, is this going to be the expectation that I teach this? Because then they're going to learn nothing. But since I teach 8th grade, I was looking at it from a middle school lens, and I felt like a lot of the stuff that I saw here would be great for my own daughter who's in 2nd grade, because she would have a lot of interest in it. But I think 8th graders would already know how to do all this on their own, especially if they already have an interest in technology. They already know how to do all this. So is there something that we can make it more rigorous for those grades, or can they if they have to go in an order, is it self-paced so they could breeze through those easy parts to get to the parts that's really going to interest them? Because I worry that it's so easy for them that I don't think that we would get engagement for 6th, 7th, and 8th.
Okay. Michael, can you speak to that?
Yeah. So at Westar, I don't know if every school is going to follow the exact same protocols, but the block coding, which I guess is Skylark, that's 4th, 5th, and 6th. And then in 7th and 8th, they switch over to line coding, like actual real-life coding. So I'm not concerned with the rigor at all because it's actually very advanced.
Okay.
And the 8th graders tend to do a lot better with TechSmart than the 7th graders. There's just that jump and ability, I guess, from 7th to 8th grade. So my 8th graders can do in 2 days what it takes my 7th graders maybe 5 days to do. But I don't think there's any issues with the rigor. It's very good. It has its flaws. It's not a perfect platform by any means, but it's pretty good at what it does, which is, teaching them Python. So I think it's a good resource. In order to meet all of the standards, which are a lot, it doesn't meet them all, but like I'm the one who did the comment above yours. But the standards it does address, it addresses very well. And the others that don't touch on, I try to make up for it with like Achieve articles and sometimes videos and stuff. But for the most part, I'm just teaching them how to code on TechSmart. And I think it's a pretty good resource. Did I answer your questions?
Yes, that answered perfectly.
Okay.
So.
And
You guys have any
again-
questions about TechSmart before I hand this off?
But our frame of reference is supplemental,
Yeah, I
so
was
it's
gonna
not
say that.
required. It's gonna be for the teachers that need to supplement their content.
Makes it an option at least for folks that want to use
Is it like self-paced? So then, like if I wanted to use it as a supplemental resource for enrichment, then I could just be like, okay, here's so-and-so, you can get to work on this, or are these lessons that have to be taught?
So I have no experience at all with the Skylark for the younger grades, but for the older grades, it's very teacher centric, and you have to teach all these lessons. They can't do it on their own. So it requires more than any other class probably that the teacher leads the entire thing. So when you do use it, but it has a lot of notes and slideshows for you to follow, and has answer keys on not all of the assignments, but most of the assignments. So if you do use it, you will have to teach those lessons. You can't just say, go to TechSmart and do this lesson, because there are some that are supposed to be student code after you teach them how to do it. Again, some of them can do it and some of them can't, just like anything else. But you will have to teach them the original or the initial lesson, and then they can follow up and do some of the student code on their own if they're able to.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And this resource would likely be used like in a special area kind of class. Did you want to say something?
I just have a question, and maybe Mr. Norwell. As they go into high school, and if they choose to take electives in coding, is Python what they might use?
Yeah, that's my understanding. So the high school are, sorry.
Right.
Yeah, so that's my understanding, that at least at the Estrella Foothills High School, they do offer the coding, and I think they also use TechSmart, and it's just a continuation of Python. I do have some 9th graders who I had last year as 8th graders, and they are learning Python, and I believe they are using TechSmart. So they can continue, they have that option, at least if they go from West Star to Estrella Foothills. I can't speak to all the high schools, but that's my understanding.
All right, any other conversation about TechSmart? Okay, so let's take a look at code.org. That's agenda item 1.6. And we can see that 100% show that it's aligned to the standards. Research shows that it's evidence-based. Everybody 100% said does meet. We've got 100% that it is appropriate for the subject area and age and emotional development. 100% shows that it fills the gaps in our curriculum and uses current relevant technology. So we've got 100% there too. And offers read aloud for students, offers a logical progression from year to year, and it covers several of the CPU science standards. Published research shows that it's effective engaging students in computer science, and it leads to increased student comfort in the subject area. And I really appreciate that they seem to offer a ton of teacher support, especially workshops. So any other conversation about code.org as another option for supplemental?
So this is a primary resource, well, it's supplemental, but it's a big one that I use in my coding class right now. Last school year, me and Loretta went to actually a professional development in Phoenix for specifically how to implement code.org in the K through 5th grade. I did start it, the progression with my junior high kids this year. And like one of the comments, it says it's read aloud. For even my kinders, there's a specific letter level for course for each grade level, and as they progress through our school, they're going to progress through the lessons as well. And a lot of my kinders are like, I don't know how to read, and then I explain to them it's a microphone button, they click it and they have their own headphones. So it really is versatile, even for the ones that maybe don't do well transitioning to specials. I found that it's a great class for all my students. There's always something, even my bigger kids. It gets complicated as we move on from just Blockly, which is, moving blocks and plugging it in and getting to the text-based coding. But once they figure it out and they are able to figure out how to add lines of code, they're like, oh my gosh, we can do this. We can create an app and get money. I'm like, yes. And then they start to pay attention. So it's so relevant, and I think it's great that we have this right now.
Any other conversation about that?
So I've never used code.org before reviewing it for this, but I just wanted to add that it's more comprehensive than TechSmart. Like TechSmart is just for teaching one thing, basically how to code in Python. But this code.org seems to cover almost all of the standards, the computer science standards. So I think that makes it a great resource. Like she's saying, it's supplemental, but it can be used as a primary resource as well because it's so comprehensive and it's very logical, the progression they go through. So I think it's a really good resource. Although I have never taught it, just reviewing it, it looks really good.
Okay, great.
Okay, any other conversation? All right, so now it's time for our decision. Agenda item 1.7 would be our recommendation for the governing board to consider approval for a 60-day public review. This is the process that the district follows to get a resource approved, basically. So the committee will discuss and determine whether or not to recommend Reading Horizons Elevate, TechSmart Coding, and Code.org for governing board approval for the 60-day public review. So first up, let's do Reading Horizons Elevate. So we're just going to give a thumbs up if we think it's a good thing that we recommend it. We'll do a sideways if you have still concerns, and we'll just do a thumbs down if we disagree with it. So I see everybody's got a thumbs up for that. So thank you for being our secretary. 6 out of 6 will recommend this resource. Let's talk about TechSmart Coding. Would we recommend that? That's 6 out of 6 for TechSmart Coding and Code.org. Great. We all recommend it. Okay. So our last agenda item is 1.8. That's our adjournment of the meeting. I want to thank you for being here tonight. Thanking for you for taking time out of your schedule, especially after we got to enjoy the health benefits meeting today. And that's it. Have a great rest of your day. Thank you.
This was a lot faster than I thought.